Today I want to talk a little bit about master plan communities, what they are, whether or not they're right for you, and what the difference is between them and a traditional neighborhood. Okay, so to explain a master plan community well, I think I need to just compare it to an actual neighborhood. So the difference is pretty striking. A neighborhood is basically where a builder went in and built, 150, whatever homes. And over time, just whatever comes in by that comes, whatever the city does, however things grow. And it's kind of luck of the draw how that all develops out. Master plan communities have far more thought put into them. Master plan communities are multiple neighborhoods inside of one community that all follows one plan. It feels different. And I'll say this, master plan communities are not for everyone. It definitely has a different feel, a different vibe. So let's go through the pros and cons, because I think that will help you come to the conclusion of whether or not master plan communities are for you. So the first thing that master plan communities have are amenities. Tons of amenities typically. So this is going to have anything from multiple pools to miles and miles of hike and bike trails to green space throughout the neighborhood, sometimes schools, grocery stores, restaurants, coffee shops, drugstores, all of that can be built in. I like the fact that they're well thought out. They have a better design aesthetic typically. They have, if they're done right, typically like windy roads throughout instead of a grid pattern. They have sidewalks. Just little things that people tend not to notice that don't come in a lot of non-master plan communities. I also like the fact that master plan communities have multiple price points. There's multiple neighborhoods within one community, and so I know of several master plan communities that have homes from the 300s up to the $1.5 million. And I like that. I like that mixture in a neighborhood personally. So master plan communities are typically pretty good investments. They're very stable. Just because you have that many homes, that size of a neighborhood, it really helps over time. See, neighborhoods are like brands, and the good brands do better than the bad brands. And usually master plan communities that are so well maintained, so well planned, they're like big brands that do well. Consumers want them, they move there, there's demand, and overall they're consistent and they do well. Master plan communities are also fairly self-contained, meaning they have things that one needs in the neighborhood. Beyond the hike and bike trails and parks, it has maybe a grocery store, a pharmacy, restaurants, UPS store, whatever it is, which is nice because you don't have to leave the neighborhood to get little stuff knocked out. Now let's talk about the potential issues I see with master plan communities, because again, they're not for everyone. The first and foremost, the one that stands out more than anything to me, are the strict HOAs. Master plan communities typically, not always, but typically have very strict HOAs. This means they're going to tell you what colors you can paint your house. They're going to tell you what you can plant or how many bushes you need to have in your front yard, things like that. Master plan communities can cost a little more to live in. Usually the HOA fees are a little higher, and if they are in a mud, you'll have those mud fees, which many master plan communities are. Now, if you want to know more about muds, I'll link to my mud video below. Another thing in master plan communities is typically homes are going to be pretty close together. They'll make the neighborhood feel spacious the way they lay it out, but the homes are usually, they're trying to maximize their space, so the distance between homes is not that much. Master plan communities can definitely feel a little cookie cutter, and while I've seen some lately do a pretty good job at trying to improve that, there's just no way around it. There's a uniformity there that can feel kind of cookie cutter. So sometimes master plan communities can feel a little sterile. I don't know of another way to put it. They're just, everything's so uniform, and yeah. It's, my wife's from Brazil, and in Portuguese they have this expression, sem sal, meaning without salt. And they use that to describe people or things that they just don't have that grit, that realness to them. They might be too perfect, but they're just kind of empty. I don't know. There's just, I'm not making any sense to 50% of you. to 80% of you, but there's 20% who are like, yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. So the reason I bring all this up is just if you're someone who's never lived in a master plan community, I want you to go in eyes wide open and just have an idea of what life is going to be like there. Because I think a lot of people who have never dealt with an HOA, for example, might have a lot of apprehension about, they hear the horror stories about HOAs or things like that. I'll tell you, overall, I enjoy living in a master plan community, but I use the things that are there. So I use the hike and bike trails like crazy with my daughters. We use the fishing pond. We use the splash pad, the pool. Like, it's all built in. We never leave the neighborhood. We use the retail. We use the stores. It's worth it for me to have those things. But there's been points in my life when it wasn't worth it to me. So I think it kind of depends on where you are in your life and what you put value on. Anyways, okay, thank you guys so much for watching. If the video was helpful, like or subscribe. I'd love to have you on board, and I will see you on the next one.